Certain American legends speak of an ancient people who came to Earth from beyond the stars to visit the tribes of the southwestern desert, bringing with them knowledge that would set humans above the animals around them. But mankind misused the Ancient One's knowledge, and the Earth and her people fell out of harmony. Now, the legends say, the ancients return to Earth from time to time, trying to prevent humanity from destroying itself. The ancient people of those legends are called the Anasazi. According to the legends, the ancients gave the Native American tribes a beacon of dazzling quartz, a beautiful stone carved and painted in intricate patterns. This mysterious object was passed down from generation to generation, coming finally into the keeping of a great shaman. One night, the wise shaman invited his young granddaughter, Alice Starseer, to witness a secret ceremony. He brought her to the ruins of an Anasazi city in the Arizona desert. And as Alice watched, her grandfather performed an ancient ritual before the beacon of quartz. Suddenly, the quartz started to glow from within. Then it slowly began to pulsate. A strange sound soon filled the air, and a brilliant light from above poured into the ceremonial chamber, a light that was not of this world. Alice stared as a strange flying vehicle, made all of spinning light, appeared and hovered just a few feet above them. Blinding light filled the room, and the frightened girl covered her eyes. Young Alice could not see that high above, two mysterious figures on board the vehicle studied a holographic display screen. In the center of the screen, a signal glowed in time with the quartz below. Uncovering her eyes, Alice saw several figures appear out of the bright light, speaking to her grandfather. She was soon comforted by the touch of her grandfather's hand. But then something terrible happened.
Leader to base, unidentified.
Two Air Force jet fighters plunged out of the sky, swooping toward the mysterious vehicle. In a flash, the whispering figures vanished. Above the ceremonial chamber, the radiant airship's spinning lights intensified. The jet pilots quickly armed their weapons and fired. Armor-piercing rockets streaked toward the radiant ship, narrowly missing as it hurtled away at unbelievable speed. The two jet fighters, however, were in close pursuit. The chase continued over the Arizona desert and into a violent thunderstorm. Finally, in the midst of the storm, the radiant ship lost control and crashed into the ground, not far from the Roswell Air Force Base. Alice never saw that mysterious ship again. That was many years ago. Today, half a continent away from Arizona, we find ourselves at the Quest compound. It lies covered under a thick blanket of snow. Outside, the wind howls fiercely, but inside the main house, all is peaceful as Jonny Quest studies at his computer. His father, Dr. Benton Quest, strokes his beard as he muses over a strange package he received just that day. A package containing an unusual quartz icon.
Hello?
Dr. Quest?
Yes?
Benton.
Alice?
After all these years, I should be flattered you remembered.
Those times were some of the happiest.
Did you get the package?
You sent the package?
Dr. Quest realizes that this phone call from Alice Starseer is more than a coincidence.
I need your help.
Of course, but why?
I gotta go. I can't explain now.
The phone line has gone dead.
Alice?
Dr. Quest wastes no time. With the help of his longtime friend Race Bannon, he prepares his private airplane for a flight to Arizona. Accompanied by Haji, Johnny's adopted brother from India, Race and Dr. Quest hurry aboard the plane. Not wanting to be left behind, Jonny and Race's daughter Jessie try to convince Dr. Quest to let them join the investigation.
I still don't see why we can't come.
We've been through this, Johnny. You both have term papers, and we'll only be gone a couple of days.
Okay, good luck. Be sure and call.
The plane taxis down the runway as Johnny's dog, Bandit, takes off in pursuit, giving the travelers his own personal farewell. While the Quest airplane makes its way south to Arizona, Dr. Quest relaxes in his seat, thinking back to the last time he'd seen Alice Starseer. She was a beautiful, intelligent woman. Together, they had explored the ancient Anasazi ruins under a hot desert sun. Alice had told him the story of her childhood adventure, the night the jet fighters chased away the mysterious ship.
The night my grandfather was called by the ancients was the very same night that the government retrieved the wreckage of an alien spacecraft at Roswell Airfield.
That is a remarkable story.
It's not a story, Benton. It's the truth. I was there 20 years ago. I was a terrified little girl, but I remember every detail.
Alice, why are you telling me this now?
Because I need a secret to share with you when you're gone.
Wait a minute. I thought you were coming with me.
You know I can't.
But Alice...
Don't ask me again.
Dr. Quest was heartbroken. Alice blinked a tear from her eye. She did not want to say goodbye, but she knew her decision was the right one.
I'll miss you, Benton, but I have to stay close to this place. I'm not sure why. I guess that's why they call it destiny.
No one can argue with destiny.
As his flight continues on, Dr. Quest sighs as he recalls that last day. Even now, years later, he still misses Alice Starseer. Sitting beside him, Race Bannon notices the doctor's distant look.
What's the matter, Ben?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Dr. Quest knows he must keep his mind on the present. If Alice is in trouble, she'll need his help. The next morning, the Quest household is filled with familiar sounds as the housekeeper, Mrs. Evans, starts her busy day. As she runs her vacuum cleaner vigorously over the carpets, she forgets to look where she's going and accidentally knocks over the mysterious quartz icon, breaking it in two. Mrs. Evans is so surprised by the crash that she doesn't notice a small device fall out of the broken quartz and roll underneath a heavy chair. Fearing that the quartz is something valuable, she seeks the help of Jonny and Jesse.
Don't worry about it, Mrs. Evans. It was an accident.
We can probably glue it right back together again.
Oh, for land's sakes. Well, if you really think so, I suppose it's no skin off my nose.
But before they can repair it, Jesse notices something peculiar inside the broken crystal.
Check this out. It looks as though it's got some kind of secret compartment. Maybe there was something hidden in it once?
But how would you get anything in there? It's solid quartz, isn't it?
That's what I thought.
Well, let's just glue it back together and ask Dad when he gets back from Arizona.
Later that night, the Quest compound is quiet. The only sound to be heard in the darkened house is the soft, steady ticking of a grandfather clock. But slowly, a faint light grows, spreading out from beneath an overstuffed chair, illuminating the den. In Johnny's bedroom, Bandit suddenly sits upright. His ears perk up, and he listens intently.
Oh, Bandit.
Jonny ignores his growls, so Bandit jumps off the bed and trots out of the room to investigate. The little dog hurries into the den, where he discovers a strange, pulsating light flooding the entire room. Bandit is mesmerized as he watches the radiant glow. Suddenly, the light goes out. Miles away in a secret installation, someone has noticed the signal emanating from the Quest compound. Instantly, a vehicle launches into the air. Aboard the vehicle, two figures dressed in black study a sophisticated display screen, which soon yields the location of the pulsating signal. Moments later, bright lights from this flying ship focus on the home of Jonny Quest. As the ship settles to the ground, the two dark figures leave the vehicle. Moving with inhuman stealth, they creep toward the compound, slipping quietly into the house. Thin beams of light search the darkened home until one of the tiny searchlights settles on the quartz icon. As one of the dark figures reaches for the quartz, he is surprised by the only member of the household who is awake. The dog hurls himself at the intruder, clamping his jaws down on the dark figure's arm. But the second intruder glides smoothly over to his companion. Raising one arm high in the air, he brings it down hard on Bandit's head. The sound of struggling wakes the household, and Jonny leaps out of bed. Running for the living room, he throws on the light switch. Jonny finds the little dog on the floor very groggy. He picks Bandit up just as Jesse and Mrs. Evans rush into the room.
What's going on?
The earth-shaking roar of an engine interrupts their conversation. Jonny and Jesse rush to the window to see a mysterious object launch itself into the air and vanish over the horizon. Turning from the window, Jesse notices the table where they had left the quartz.
Look! They took the stone!
I'm calling the police.
The police arrive soon after, but there is very little anyone can tell them.
I'm sorry we couldn't give you any more details.
We'll file a report, Mrs. Evans.
The policemen return to their car and shake their heads doubtfully.
Strange lights. Yeah, they've been watching too much TV.
As the police car leaves, Johnny decides to go into action.
Come on, Jess. Let's try Dad again.
While Johnny tries to reach his father on the cellular phone, Jesse accesses the powerful computer system.
He's still not picking up.
Maybe they're out of range.
There's a recorded message for that. What are you doing?
Accessing your dad's files on Alice Starseer. Maybe she'll give us a clue.
In just a few seconds, Jessie sits back in her chair, completely stunned.
What?
She's cross-referenced to Anasazi legends, extraterrestrial visitations, and UFO intrusions.
Before Jessie can finish the list, she's suddenly interrupted by the sound of a squeaky door slowly opening. Johnny quickly pulls back the door, only to find Bandit swaggering into the room, holding a strange-looking device in his mouth. A device he has succeeded in digging out from beneath the chair.
What have you got there?
Come on, boy. Come here. Give it up.
Johnny takes the strange object from Bandit and examines it. The small device is a black cylinder that fits easily into Johnny's palm, but its design is like nothing they've ever seen.
What is it?
I don't know. It beats me, Jess. But it doesn't weigh anything. Here. I've never seen any kind of metal that looked or felt like that.
If it is metal... Wait a minute. Is this shape familiar? It's the same shape as the compartment inside the quartz. This must have been inside it.
So maybe those, whoever they were, weren't looking for the stone. I bet they were looking for that thing. And when they realize it's not still inside the quartz, they'll be back.
But Jessie has latched on to a deeper mystery.
No, it means much more than that. The quartz is somehow connected with Alice, and Alice is connected with UFOs and extraterrestrials, so maybe those burglars weren't even human.
Jessie returns to the computer, typing furiously.
Okay, time out. This is too tall for TV, Jess. We have got to talk to Dad. What are you doing?
Booking us 2 seats to Arizona.
As Jessie types, the computer monitor suddenly flashes an urgent alarm.
Alert FBI immediately. It came up the moment I punched in the Quest Enterprises credit card.
I don't get it. Why would the FBI be looking for us?
Not us, necessarily. Anyone connected with Quest Enterprises.
Okay, UFOs, FBI, aliens, government agents. I don't know, Jess. This stinks. We've got to get to Arizona. We gotta find Race and Dad.
Any ideas?
Johnny is never short of ideas, and in moments the two teens are on board a snowmobile, gliding out of the Quest compound with Johnny at the controls.
We'll cut across country till we get to an Amtrak station. Even if someone's looking for 2 kids, they can't cover every airport and every rail station.
Refusing to be left behind, Bandit races out from behind an icy outcropping and slides right in front of the snowmobile. To avoid their faithful companion, Johnny veers away, and the wild turn sends the snowmobile out of control. Johnny and Jessie skid across the snow and ice until they slam into a snowdrift.
Jessie, you okay?
I'm fine. No thanks to you, dumb mutt.
With Jessie's help, Johnny digs the snowmobile out of the deep snowdrift.
Well, I guess no one will be looking for 2 kids and a dog.
Without any more trouble, Johnny and Jessie reach the train station and board the next train for Arizona. Making their way through the cold, snowy terrain had been long and hard, so the two teens take advantage of the train ride to catch up on their much-needed sleep. Feeling secure that they have evaded the FBI, Johnny and Jessie fall into a deep slumber. But there are mysterious pursuers closer than they think. As they sleep, a gloved hand reaches slowly toward the pack containing the alien object. Bandit senses the intruder's presence. Johnny and Jessie snap out of their slumber just in time to see a dark figure race down the train aisle. Jessie grins and gives Bandit a pat on the head.
I take it back. Maybe you're not so dumb after all.
But Bandit hardly notices as he paws at the pack containing their mysterious cargo.
What is it, boy?
Examining the pack, they find that the alien object has begun to glow.
Uh-oh.
It must be sending out some kind of a signal.
But why? How? If it is a signal, who's gonna pick it up? We're at least 1,000 miles from home. No one could possibly know where we are.
It's extraterrestrial technology, Johnny. If aliens are looking for us, don't you think their ship could cover 1,000 miles in a couple of seconds?
Jessie has no idea how right she is. Not far off, inside the cockpit of a shadowy aircraft, a display screen pulses in time with the device in Johnny's hand. Dark figures lean forward, eager to get their hands on the beacon as their aircraft closes in. On board the train, Johnny and Jesse examine the device they now know is some kind of beacon.
There must be some way we could deactivate it.
Yeah, throw it out the window.
As Johnny speaks, the beacon suddenly begins to glow more brightly, pulsing at an unbelievably fast rate.
Oh, wait a sec, Jess.
Johnny opens the train window and looks outside. The wind whips past him, blowing tears from his eyes. In the distance, Johnny can barely make out a small ball of light coming up fast behind them.
You're not gonna like this. They're here.
Maybe you're right. Toss it!
At that moment, the train plunges into the darkness of a tunnel. The tunnel is far too narrow for the speeding aircraft, and its engines whine as it pulls up, trying to avoid the rock face of the mountain. The ship barely avoids disaster and races along the cliff face, but slams right into a huge power line pylon and explodes in a ball of fuel and flame. Johnny and Jesse look back to identify the pursuing vehicle for the first time as it disintegrates in the heart of the blast. It is a black helicopter. While Johnny and Jesse zoom away from the explosion, another black helicopter has landed 1,000 miles away in Arizona. The ominous-looking machine waits outside the small, isolated home of Alice Starseer. A squad of heavily armed men dressed in black patrol the grounds. But they aren't keeping anyone out. They're keeping 4 prisoners in. Dr. Quest, Race Bannon, Haji, and Alice Starseer are being held prisoner by a mysterious group of government agents. Race, cool and confident, sits back in his chair while Haji meditates sitting cross-legged on the floor. The commander of the Men in Black stands before Dr. Quest, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses.
This is outrageous. You cannot hold us indefinitely.
Wrong, Dr. Quest. This is a matter of national security. Your son and Mr. Bannon's daughter have something I need. When I have it, you'll be free to go.
With a final arrogant sneer, the commander walks out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Race Bannon shakes his head.
And if you believe that, I got a tin-plated mudcat with a gold vest pocket.
Beside him, Haji sits meditating quietly. But Race's comment disturbs his concentration.
Oh, Race, I don't like your implication. They must let us go eventually, mustn't they?
Having spent years working as a secret government agent, Race Bannon knows exactly what the Men in Black are capable of.
These jokers are beyond the law, Haji. They've been using hybrids of UFO technology for years. Check out that helicopter. It's designed from elements they stole from alien wrecks. But no one's gonna admit to anything.
Of course. When one acknowledges the existence of beings with superior intellects and technologies, one also acknowledges one's own inferiority.
Why haven't they picked up Jesse and Johnny yet?
That is very simple. Jesse and Johnny are obviously more resourceful than these national security types.
While Dr. Quest, Race, and Haji remain prisoners, Johnny and Jesse have hitched a ride in an old rundown pickup truck. They are stuck in the back of the truck, while Bandit rides up front with a crooked-toothed driver and a crowd of other dogs. As they roar down the highway, Jesse pulls a small device called a Trimble Global Positioning Unit from her pack. She punches a few commands into this high-tech toy, and the unit links up with a satellite to determine their exact location.
Where are we? Coming up to Quinlan, Oklahoma.
The truck skids to a slow halt, and the driver pokes his head out the window, grinning through his broken teeth.
This is as far as I go.
Thanks for the ride.
Yep. Never could resist a fine-looking dog. Y'all take care, here.
Johnny, Jesse, and Bandit find themselves in the middle of nowhere. The land stretches out flat and dry as far as the eye can see. There's nothing in sight except for a small shack and a very old airplane parked next to it.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I hope not.
They search the small shack but find no one home.
Not even a phone.
Jessie murmurs just as she catches Johnny staring at the small airplane. He recognizes the model. It's an old Stearman, a plane he's flown a dozen times. Jessie now knows just what Johnny's thinking.
No, I don't think so.
Come on, Jesse. I've flown hundreds of hours with your dad.
Yeah, but how many hours have you flown without him?
Uninfluenced by Jessie's comment, Johnny prepares the plane for flight. The Stearman was built before the era of onboard computers, so Johnny must check the fuel manually. He finds the fuel tester, a small device shaped like a cylinder, and uses it to check the gas. Then, he wipes the windshield clean with a piece of cloth and climbs aboard. Nervously, Jesse and Bandit follow along. With a roar, the Stearman's engines come to life. Johnny guides the plane toward a small runway and pushes the throttle forward. Jessie's knuckles are white and her eyes are shut tight. By the time she opens them, the airplane is high in the air. Jonny decides to take Jessie's mind off his flying and starts talking about the mystery at hand.
The helicopter that crashed last night sure didn't look very extraterrestrial to me.
Yeah, but it didn't look like any military helicopter I've ever seen.
So, what are you saying, Jess?
That maybe they're more interested in what they can steal from the aliens instead of what they can learn from them.
The flight was short, and soon the two teens find themselves over the Arizona desert.
Hey, Jess, are we there?
We're right over Third Mesa. According to your dad's files, Alice Starseer's place is here somewhere.
At that moment, Jessie spies a small, lonely house far below.
That must be it!
The Stearman airplane makes one sputtering circle around the area as Jonny and Jessie search for more black helicopters. Unable to find any, Jonny brings the plane in for a landing. Jonny may have spent many hours flying with Jessie's dad, but he never spent much time landing. As he makes his approach, the airplane rocks and wavers, then comes down hard, bouncing off the earth. Finally, flipping over on its back, the plane comes to a stop, leaving its occupants unhurt, but hanging upside down by their seatbelts.
How many hours did you say you'd flown with my dad?
Hey, even monkeys fall from trees.
What's that supposed to mean?
Ask Haji. It's one of his.
Before the teens can exit the overturned airplane, they hear the sound of approaching footsteps. Quickly, they scramble to free themselves, but it's too late. The plane is surrounded by men in black. The commander of the men looks inside the plane and scowls at Jonny through his dark sunglasses.
Give me the beacon, kid.
Is my dad here?
He's here.
And Race?
And your Indian pal. You give me the beacon and you can get back to playing happy families.
While Jonny considers his options, the men in black give him a reminder of their power as they ready their automatic weapons.
The beacon.
With a hopeless sigh, Jonny hands over the small cylinder wrapped in the cloth he used to clean the airplane. The commander hastily unwraps the cloth and examines the device. Having finally gotten what he's been looking for, he turns away, forgetting about the two teens. As he walks from the airplane, the commander shouts to his men.
Let's go! Move it!
They quickly pull down a camouflage net that has hidden their black helicopter from sight. In seconds, the helicopter lifts off and races away with impossible speed, just as Dr. Quest, Alice, Race, and Haji hurry out of the house to join the two teens. Alice Starseer stares angrily at the departing chopper.
We can't let them do this. We can't just stand by while that Neanderthal brings down a UFO and captures its people.
I hate to think of the kind of experiments they have in mind.
Or what those idiots might do with a brand new technology.
There was no choice, son, but I wish you hadn't given them the beacon.
Well, Dad, maybe I didn't.
Jonny reaches into his pack and pulls out a small black object. It's the beacon.
Oh, Jonny, you are the proverbial fox with many tricks.
What did you give him?
The Stearman's fuel tester. I figured it was made before he was born. How would he know the difference?
That night, Jonny and his friends join Alice Starseer in the ceremonial chamber hidden among the ancient Anasazi ruins. Alice has learned her grandfather's lessons well, and she stands before the beacon chanting an ancient prayer. As her voice grows stronger, the beacon begins to glow with an unearthly light. In the sky above the chamber, a glowing light seems to answer the beacon, growing closer and brighter with each passing second. But as Alice's chant reaches its end, the light in the sky swoops down, and a black helicopter appears. The men in black have returned. A shower of dirt pours in on them as the chamber's roof caves in. Shadowy figures quickly drop through the hole. Jonny and his friends are frozen in surprise, all except for Race Bannon. Bannon springs into action, using the dust and darkness as his cover. His fists fly in the shadows, pounding the agents who try to enter the chamber. Race seizes a rifle from one of the dark shapes, then hurls the man in black up through the opening in the chamber. A burst of automatic weapons fire lights up the night, and the men in black dive for cover. Race shouts to his friends.
Come on!
Jonny and the others scramble out of the damaged chamber as Race holds their adversaries at bay with his captured weapon. The commander snarls at them through his dark sunglasses.
You're supposed to be on our side. You were a government man.
You're right, I was. Until they made those shades part of the uniform. Come on!
Jonny and the others hurry through the ancient ruins. Race brings up the rear, firing warning shots to keep the men in black away.
Where are we headed, Race?
We'll take their chopper!
The group dashes for safety, but as they round a corner, they find themselves face to face with an entire army of government agents. More than 100 rifles are aimed at their heads. Race whirls, looking for an escape route, but the retreat is blocked by the commander and his men. Jonny and his friends are trapped.
You're finished, Bannon. You're in so deep it'll take a backhoe and 4 jackhammers to dig you out.
Oh, yeah? I'm shaking, boss. You see me shaking?
Ignoring Race, the commander looms over Jonny.
And you're in big trouble here, kid. Big trouble.
Then, without warning, the commander spins and angrily tries to grab the beacon from Alice Starseer's hand.
I'll take that.
Before the commander can finish, a streak of light flashes through the air and sinks into the ground right between his feet. The man in black leaps back in surprise. Quivering in the ground, right where he had been standing, is a deadly steel-pointed arrow. The commander looks up, and his jaw drops. Shadowy figures move among the rooftops of the ruins and on the hills around them. In their hands, they hold elaborate bows of a strange technological design with deadly arrows aimed at the squadron of men in black. The figures stay among the shadows, but Jonny recognizes them from the paintings among the ruins, and he realizes that the Anasazi have come. Defiantly, the men in black aim their weapons. But before they can fire, their rifles instantly begin to glow white hot. The soldiers quickly drop them, crying out in pain. Alice Starseer now decides to confront the commander.
You're in over your head. For once in your life, be smart. Take your men and your weapons and leave. This is no business of yours. In fact, it never was.
You may have won this battle, but the war ain't over. Not by a long shot.
Angrily, the government soldiers pick up their weapons and shuffle back into the darkness. Moments later, their helicopter launches into the air and flashes off into the night. As the government agents depart, the beacon in Alice's hand flares like a miniature star. Its light is answered by the sudden drone of alien engines. In the blink of an eye, an enormous radiant ship flashes into view, hovering over the ancient ruins, bathing everyone in its powerful light. Jonny Quest looks up at a ship that could only have come from the stars. The ancient Anasazi have returned. In the midst of the glow, a single figure appears, its features lost in the brilliant light. It beckons Alice to come forward, to enter the alien spacecraft. Alice steps toward the light, then turns back to Dr. Quest.
Come with me, Benton. All of you, come with us. Think of what you'll see. Unknown worlds, unimaginable civilizations.
Dr. Quest looks at Alice longingly, but he hesitates.
This would be the greatest adventure of your lives. Come with us.
The lure of adventure is strong. But just as Dr. Quest is about to step forward, something bumps against him. He looks down to find Bandit sitting at his feet, panting in the warm desert air. Dr. Quest smiles at the dog and looks at Jonny. Meeting his father's gaze, Jonny knows what his decision will be.
I can't do that, Alice.
But
No, don't ask again. A long time ago, you spoke of destiny.
I remember.
Well, this is where we belong.
Alice nods gently. Then, to Dr. Quest's surprise, she hands him the beacon, a signal he can use to reach her across the galaxy.
I'll never forget you, Benton.
Then, Alice Starseer turns and steps into the light. Instantly, a blinding flash fills the ruined city. As it speeds toward the dark horizon, the radiant ship slowly fades away and disappears into the stars. Jonny looks around at his closest friends, Jesse, Haji, and Race. With Bandit at his feet, Jonny finally looks up at his father. He knows his father passed up the adventure of a lifetime, but he also knows that they will find their own adventures in the days and weeks to come.
Come on, Dad. Let's go home.